Good afternoon, everyone. It is April 2nd, 2023. I'm going to try my best to summarize this week as quickly as I can. However, I wouldn't be surprised if this is a longer video. Let's quickly go over it. Well, last Sunday, what I was looking for was we had repeatedly failed to go down. So my overall conclusion was that we'd be looking at 4128.75, last month's point of control, that February point of control, and that we could have a large squeeze scenario given that it was end of quarter and end of month. And that is what we had. Monday, we gapped up. After that huge Friday squeeze, we gapped up, traded around the first standard deviation of last week's VWAP close, so 40.26 was sort of the high of that area. And we did have that 38.40 seller as well from the week prior. Tuesday, I believe we may have gapped down. I cannot recall correctly. And all I remember is that we sold down into this critical area, which to me, this was the key area that bulls had to hold. They held it, and I mentioned that if we closed above 04, we could get confirmation that the sellers have fumbled. We'd come back into this 4,000 to 40.30 balance, and we should break out higher. And that is what we had. We got our move to 40.50, and then this continual ramp upwards. Now, something I want to note before moving on is that the RTH was incredibly slow, choppy, dull, whatever you want to call it, and that the majority of the actual trend moves took place during Globex. Now, that's important because it was done on low volume, which means any sort of real selling during the RTH could cause this to fall apart pretty easily. So, it's not to say it will happen, but it is to say that it's not as stable as something I'd like to see during the RTH. So let's go into what I'm looking at next week. And actually, before we get into this, I want to quickly note just some larger time frame balance zones, and maybe this helps give an idea as to what we're looking at now. This is a 4-hour chart. This is a 4-hour chart from about December onwards. You can see this December balance area, this December-January balance. We held right around the half back of it, around 38.50-ish. Our next balance area over here, we once again held that sort of half back around 39.75. And then the second our highest balance area of the year, the half back of that, around 41.30, roughly where we closed the month and where we're trading at right now. So we're now at our highest balance area of the month, and perhaps I should make some more balance areas. Maybe I'll do that right now for you guys on the screen. Let's just pop this in. Here we go. Something like this looks pretty good. And then let's take the half back of it, just like this. That gives us roughly 42.69. So there we go, clone it, and 42.69. So that is about all the effort I will take into creating a balance area. So that's roughly the next target I'd be looking at if we broke this swing high. So anyway, this is just generally how I'm looking at our higher time frame balance areas, just to give you an idea of what sort of zones we're looking at. Now, let's actually get into what I'm looking at next week. Well, as long as we're trading about 40.82, it's hard to play the short side. And why is that? Well, 95% of the volume last month was done below there. This was the only time after this squeeze here, this is the only time we traded above 40.50-ish. We got it once more during FOMC, but really that was the only time. So as long as we're trading above 40.82, we're really trading above where the vast majority, the first two standard deviations of the trading took place during March. So I think it's hard to be short above there. I think it's better intraday to be playing the long side. Below there, 40.54 quarter, I think we'd revert down to last week's VWAP close over there. And if we lose the 40.50 area, I think we'd be then looking at the gap close at 4,009 down over here. Notably, quarterly VWAP close at 4014.75. Below there, I think this is sort of our must-hold area. Bulls have to hold this. If they don't, I think we break this 39.47 area, which we held so nicely during the RTHs a couple weeks ago. And then we end up I think we would end up losing this balance and start trading below 3,900. So looking at this kind of 38.81, lose that, we're looking at new lows on the year. So really, what I would like to see bulls do is hold this gap close area down to 39.75. This is going to be sort of the critical area moving forward for bulls to hold. And going back to that larger balance area, balance chart, that's what I'm looking at, sort of this midway of this balance point. If we can hold that, we should be able to make some more moves upwards. Now to the upside, We have our quarterly close at 41.38, the 4 p.m. close. 95% of our past week's volume was done below 34 quarters. So once again, similar ideas that 82 is that it's going to be bid within here. We do have a weekly point of control at 44 quarter. We do have Q1's 87% value area high at 44 half. Anyway, blah, 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 blah. We've got last year's half back at 41.55 quarter. There's just a ton of stuff around this area that making me think it's going to be choppy waters. However, if we do break above there, I think it's likely that we get some breakout attempts, likely to this 41.88. There is a weekly high at 41.70. However, I am more so paying attention to this 83 to 91 area. That will be critical for bulls to hold. If they do break it, I think we're looking at a gap close at 42.30-ish. So that should cover us for the week. I doubt we'll be trading above 42.30. What I'll be looking for in general is sort of that hyper bid environment. I think we hold above 82 for about a couple sessions, probably Monday and Tuesday, perhaps even Wednesday, and then we could come in and clean up down to 40.54 or that gap close before NFP, and then let the decision lie from there. That kind of puts us in a nice neutral position with the gap closed. We can see if we're going to go start trading below this kind of 4,000 to 39.60 area, or if we're going to come back above 40.50 and start trucking our way upwards. So that's how I'm looking at it this week. No real targets. Perhaps, I guess you could say, what I'm looking for is that I want to see bears get that gap close this week, maybe on Wednesday or Thursday. And to the upside, I want to see buyers start building volume, start to really get a tag of this 41.88-ish area. So that's what I'm looking for this week. Either gap close to the downside and then coming back above 40.50, which would be productive for buyers, or sellers are able to get us below this 39.75 area, which I really doubt for this week. Just given how volatility has looked for the past few weeks, I doubt we'll be getting any sort of major moves this week. 7.5 minute video. Sorry for that, you guys. Hope it was informative. Hope it helped. And I will get that daily video up later today. Hope that helps. Hope that makes sense. There will likely be some changes to this week. I think it's a good week to trade, mostly day to day. Not look for any massive moves on the weekly time frame. I think last week was very clear. This week will be a little more complex. Anyway, hope that helps. Trade safe, you guys.